Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 supports to try right now. These are all heroes I've either experimented with or watched in depth in a replay from the pros. Honestly, right now, I think position 5s is a role that you can have a lot of impact on. For the longest time in Dota's history, since basically 2000 and whenever the game was, came out, to even Dota 1, it was not that easy to have impact on position 5. Yes, you can make calls, but frankly, anyone could do that. And most of the time you were just poor. Honestly, in this patch, that's just not really the case anymore. You should and can get farm in almost every single game right now. And honestly, these position 5s that I'm about to list to you, if you play them properly and you study how pros execute on them, or you watch the videos that I will eventually make on them, either here or on the website, you will dominate your games. And on that note, it's also funny to me how many people watch the streams and just didn't have a GameLeap sub. And I have to convince them, it's like, guys, the amount of content and effort that's put into the website for the cost, especially when it's 50% off with code SUMMER, is insane. It's so much value. And so yeah, it just blows my mind. Nonetheless, check that out in the description down below. Use code SUMMER for 50% off, and let's get into it. All right, coming in at number 5 is Pudge. This hero, God, I know, people were ready to click off. I had to start the video with a bit of a troll. Actually, at number 5 though is Dawnbreaker, and this one also might seem like a bit of a troll, but I genuinely believe this hero is actually a good position 5. In fact, I think it's a very good position 5 to play in solo queue if you take the approach I'm about to give you. And that approach is to actually hit creeps. Now, the first thing you have to do outside of hitting creeps, because I know I say that all the time, is learn how to dominate the laning stage. Dawnbreaker is one of the best laners in Dota. Right now, there's a couple heroes that I recommend picking with Dawnbreaker in lane. I'm going to repeat these heroes with a few of the position 5s in this video, because if you pair these safe laners with dominant position 5 heroes, you're going to do pretty well. So incentivize your carries to pick these heroes or pay attention to what they have highlighted. And the carries are Sven and Troll. Now, there are other examples as well, but these are 2 heroes I think are pretty popular right now that are getting picked. I think Jug is okay as well. I think Weaver's good too. I think Slark is mediocre. Depends on the offlaner in that case. But Troll and Sven with Dawnbreaker are incredibly strong lanes. Reason being is Dawnbreaker at level 1 and level 2 is maybe the strongest hero in the game. She really is. She's up there. Incredibly good base stats, just the ability to close the gap, stuns, disables, you name it. And so really what the goal here of Dawnbreaker 5 is to essentially win your lane with one of these strong safe laners that have a slow or, some sort of damage follow-up. And then when you hit level 6, you just respond to ganks. You farm and then respond to ganks. And you might be saying, oh, but Speed, I'm a position 5. I can't do that. That's not my job. I'm not supposed to just respond to ganks. I'm supposed to set up ganks. Do not set up ganks. What are you going to set up a gank with? Celestial Hammer? It's not good. It's not good. You can let your teammates set up the ganks and ulti on top of it, but do not set up ganks. And I know you might be saying, once again, I'm sure there's some Dawnbreaker players in the chat, they're gonna be like, Bean, I play Dawnbreaker every day and I set up plenty of ganks and they work. Yes, of course, Dota's a weird game. You can do anything and anything can work, and that's like basically true. But if you want to win games, split push, max your W, okay, right? It leaves the fire shit. Burn the creep wave, farm the creep wave. Oh, is my Sven getting gone on in the top lane? I'm gonna ulti in and clean up. And it's really effective because all of a sudden you're going to be able to build tons of items and have tons of net worth and be able to frontline for your team at some point in the game, because you're going to have a Force Staff, a Glimmer Cape, a Halberd, Ags. I literally played against one of these Dawnbreakers and she was out farming me. If you don't believe me, it was a Monkey King game on one of my Twitch VODs. Yes, she had like a Solar Crest Ags at minute 20 something. And honestly, it's not that surprising. Coming in at number 4 is Lich. Lich I also really recommend you pick with the lane dominator. Like, I'm not a fan of picking Lich with some sort of like Spectre. Even though that lane actually can be pretty good and put some pressure, just in general, make sure you're communicating to your safe laner regardless of what hero he or her is playing. It does not matter. Just tell them to go aggressive. When you have your Q up, click it, click it, click it. I want you to buy 2 or 3 mangoes, 1 or 2 clarities, and just click your Q off cooldown and auto attack them when you click it. Okay, do not just click the Q on them and then walk away. If you can only click the Q on them and not auto-attack them, don't click the Q. But every single time they are in range to hit them 1 or 2 times and get a Q off, just do it and rinse repeat over and over and over again, and you will most likely win your laning stage. On top of that, they buff Sinister Gaze. If you have insane amounts of kill potential in the laning stage, you take Sinister Gaze at level 2, you push in the creep wave, right? Your Q is naturally going to shove in the wave because it's AoE damage. So you nuke the offlaner, It slows the creep wave's attack speed, damages the creep wave, which naturally pushes it in. Then when your wave, does this make sense? When your wave is shoving into them, because you just shoved it in, you're going to Sinister Gaze them back into the wave, back into you and a teammate. You're going to slow them, and they are most likely going to die. It's a very, very common occurrence, especially in pubs when people are more often than not overextending to get like the last deny in a wave. And Lich is incredibly good at punishing it right now, especially if you spam your Q at level 1. By the way, I love his talents on Frostblast. I think it's really powerful. Coming in at number 3 is Bane. I just played this hero on stream. It felt really nice. It did. Even though I was against the Leshrac Lion lane, which just is actually not even that good for Bane. Reason being is it's just so much damage that even Brain Sap seemingly just isn't good enough at times. I still did alright. I did alright. It was a really hard lane. Still was able to create a lot of space in the game. On top of that, the way I play Bane, in fact, I highly recommend you go watch that VOD, or maybe it'll even be posted to the website. I'll probably post that one because I thought that game was actually very high quality. I thought I made a lot of good decisions. But basically what you can do on Bane right now is you want to buy Tranquils, a wand, Windlace, Raindrops, Fluffy Hat, and you want to walk around with like 1200 HP, maxed out Nightmare, putting down deep wards in the enemy team's jungle, and forcing rotations. And basically you can do this in the entire game. You just like put down deep wards and look for Nightmare setups. And even if nothing comes out of it, right? And I could have done this a lot more, but I think in my game I was a little bit afraid of dying and they had a Slark dewarding everything. But very often what you can do in pubs, and you will have a stupid amount of impact. Even if you can't see it, you will have a stupid amount of impact. If you walk around the jungle, nightmaring the enemy carry or enemy supports, you will have a stupid amount of impact. And by the way, you do not need teammates to do this, because you don't need to kill them. What's going to happen 9 out of 10 times is you're going to sleep them, like 8 people are going to TP in, right? Maybe your teammates might come too, in which case, you know, tell them to leave. But you're going to force like a million TPs, and they're going to walk away, because you have Tranquils and Windlace. And you do this over and over again. And if your teammate's there, okay, you can grip, right? You also have Brain Sap if you get gone on. And so Bane is stupid good at just wasting people's time and being a nuisance. What I want you to do to become a better Dota player is just run around and try to die without dying. Now you might be like, Speed, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but think about it. Go into the jungle, go into dangerous areas you typically would never want to go into, put down a ward, and practice your limits. See how far you can go, nightmaring and messing with people without dying. And if you get good at this, you will set up tons of good fights and waste a shit ton of the enemy team's time. Going in at number 2 is Pango. Yes, I almost put this in number 1, but there's a hero I really recommend playing that I think is very powerful, and is kind of similar to Bane in the way I think you should play him. But at number 2 is Pango. Honestly, you cannot even play Pango like the Bane way, or like most carries can't kill you in the early game, especially, you know, you get some damage reduction, disarm them, get roll around, whatever. So you can do that as Pango too, right? He's just one of those heroes that can just be mobile and not die. So what I just explained with Bane, you can do it on Pango. You can also do it with the next hero I'm going to mention. But Pango, why is he good right now? The W is just such a nice value point. 60 mana for 90 damage and a ton of damage reduction for 5 seconds. I think it's like 18%. The number doesn't matter. Basically, you just don't take a lot of damage for 5 seconds. And you hit them, and it slows them for 25% for 3 seconds. It's really crazy how good this spell is at level 1. And obviously in team fights, it also is really good because when you bounce around in this ball and like, you know, use the W, you're going to slow everyone around you. You're going to build up a bunch of status resist. And then when you come out of the ball, assuming you've maxed out your W, which I generally recommend you do, you can literally have 50 to 80% damage reduction if you hit a 3 to 4 man W, right? Imagine how much space you can create in a fight. If you have a good Rolling Thunder, you can stun up to like 8 or 9 targets in a fight, right? Obviously, you know what I mean. And then on top of that, you slow them. And then when you come out of the ball, just like run at them. Pop your W and tank the damage. As long as you get a multi-man W. The amount of time you will waste will be way beyond what you thought. And honestly, that's why I think Pango's good right now. He's a much better laner because of the change to the W. And honestly, just for the fact that you can now max the W and be this nuisance in a team fight with absolutely no items, like literally just buy a wand, raindrop, fluffy hat, like the same items you would buy to tank up on any support, and just frontline. And by the way, if the game's going well, you can even turn into a core. And finally, last but not least on the list, is a hero that really is the epitome of running around in the enemy team's jungle and wasting their time. In the laning stage, you just want to heal your carry and buff them up, and that's Omni Knight. And really, he's just so good with a lot of the current meta heroes. I think I said this in a previous video, but basically, he's good with like non-illusion heroes for the most part, the Weavers, the Slarks, the Svens, because these heroes get kited a lot easier than illusion heroes, at least in more single target ways, which Heavenly Grace counters, right? It specifically counters single target or just disables in general that often are used on single target heroes. And so when you buff up these people, you're having crazy impact, but that's usually at a later point in the game. I'm going to play Omni Knight at some point on stream, and I'm going to show you guys what I mean, where I'm literally going to max my W or my Q. It doesn't even matter. I'll have a few points on my W, and I'm just going to run around running at people and like forcing rotations, because you can't stack very well as Omni Knight. You just can't, right? Unless maybe if you're on Dire, you know, typical, but you can't really stack. You can't set up ganks. And so there's this huge period in time where most players just walk around taking in the view. They're just like, yep, this tree looks nice. The frog, you know, great map design, Valve. It's really beautiful. Instead of just like running down lanes, running at people in the jungle with Heavenly Grace on. And if you get good at this, once again, same thing to Bane. You can have a stupid amount of impact. And basically what I said at the beginning of the video just applies here. It's like, guys, you don't have to be poor on a support anymore. Like a lot of the time you're going to get gold, bounties, neutral items. You're gonna have like a certain amount of HP, a certain amount of gold. And as long as you invest that into cost-effective items, you can just create a dummy amount of space in the early game. And if you get good at that, you're gonna become 10 times better as a support player, because most supports are way too afraid of dying. They're way too afraid of putting down deep wards, making smoke plays, running at people alone, just creating space alone or with a +1, depending on your hero. If you're Bane with grip, you probably want a +1, and you get the point. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you really take these suggestions to heart. Yes, of course, heroes like Pango and Dawnbreaker, even Bane, are going to take quite a bit of practice, but I really think it's worth your time. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace! And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!